Okay, so again, welcome to Aligning Your Personal Brand with Your Business, and this is Basics to Brand Positioning. And today we're going to have Mark Alvarez, who is going to be sharing with us how, as a coach, we need to brand ourselves and position ourselves. And if there are a few words that describe Mark, it would absolutely be that he is a storyteller. He is also an entrepreneur and a visionary. And a little bit of background on Mark, he says that he's in the business of telling stories. And I will tell you that after you're done listening to this presentation, you will understand that he has a gift in telling stories. Starting from his first journal on his 9th birthday, where he wrote his first story, Fantasies of the Dragon, and in its pages, he really started to expand his storytelling. But that was the sounding board for the second word of being an entrepreneur. And he has not only worked in a lot of digital marketing roles, but he also worked as an apprentice. And as an apprentice works, they work with many masters. So Mark, over the last several years, has really been working with organizations, and that has led him to the third thing, be this entrepreneur to launch his business called Light Wings Promotions. And he has been doing this for a little over 3 years, and today you're going to get the benefit of what his mission is, which is pretty simple. He is a devoted writer. He's faithful to the ideas of truth and excellence. He's a visionary seeking to make the dreams of those in need a reality. And he offers his voice in support of those who have yet to find their story, just like some of us here today, or those that are going to be listening to this message or watching this video later. And his values are honesty, integrity, and above all, faith. And he will write to ensure that stories like yours do not go unheard. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Mark.
So hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's a privilege getting to speak for you guys. Thank you, Carissa. Thank you, Aurora, for having me. I'm in the business of telling stories, and branding is something that I'm very passionate about, especially with digital marketing. And it's funny how this journey started, because it all started with the LinkedIn message from Brad Bowler my last semester at Texas State. And I never really thought I was going to go to law school, and it was, and I was going to San Antonio anyways, but I was thinking, why not? Let's try this out. And luckily, I found my passion in it, and it's been growing ever since. And this framework that I'm about to share with you guys, I hope that you guys did download the, did get access to the link. Be sure to make a copy so that way you can work on it on your own time or through this presentation. As I ask questions, I'm going to expect you to think critically about your brands and your story, and really try to come to understand, what your gift is, what your talent is, and what you're really hoping to achieve and hoping to achieve and help people with. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation, and we'll get this show on the road. So should I share my screen now? Yes, I will do so. Here we go. So this is my presentation. Let me go ahead and just present. So from brand to business, I think Aurora mentioned before, this is about aligning your business with your brand, and making sure that your brand and your business are in sync and consistent, and making sure that your message and your tone and your story is ultimately a reflection of your personal values and beliefs. So this is how to build a brand primed for marketing. So a little bit about me, other than, what Aurora so gracefully spoke about. I've been studying digital media and communications and branding for about 10 years. I started in high school, graduated from high school graduated from high school and then eventually Texas State University in mass communication and public relations. Graduated from Digital Creative Institute, where I was certified as a digital marketer in March 2019. The same year I founded Lightwings Promotion of last July. And I am also writing a book. It's going to be the first of a trilogy, and it's a novel called Lightwings Altruist Manifesto. And fortunately for me and my brand, I named my company, my agency, after my book because it's the story behind the story, and that's ultimately true to me. So that's it's a core of what branding is to stay true to yourself. So interesting facts about myself, things that, and these are all very important. So I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. Neither of my parents graduated from high school. My mom was a teen mother and had primarily raised my brothers and me alone. Our fathers were in and out, pretty much not there for the majority of our lives. Drugs, violence, and neglect was abundant in my household and community, and I was shot in the face by my younger brother when I was 4 and survived. So my background is, there's good, but there's a lot of bad. But I know what you might be thinking, why is he telling me all this? What does it have to do with branding? But I'm here to tell you that it has everything to do with branding, because branding is finding the story within yourself that is ultimately unique to you and sets you apart from everyone else. So this gunshot, it changed my entire life. On contrary to what people think that, I say all the time, my gunshot was not the worst thing that happened to me. There are a lot of things that happened afterwards that I can say were much, much worse. And, what this gunshot did for me was that it instilled a faith that was unbreakable. It made me believe that I survived for a reason, that there was a reason that I was put on this earth, and there was a purpose for me to fulfill, a mission of some sort. And that sort of propelled me into a different mindset than my brothers had, than my mother had, that my fathers had, my cousins, my family in general. I was always set apart from them because of this belief system within myself that I was meant to do something good on this earth rather than be trapped within the circumstances I was born into. So find the story within yourself. That's the core lesson in that. But for now, let's move on. And I'm going to start with my first question. What's the difference between good and great branding? Does anyone have any answers? Anyone?
I would venture an answer here. Let's see. Maybe good is something that people can recognize you from, but great would be what makes you unique. I think that's my take on it.
Okay. Well, those are very close and they're very correlated with the answer. But does anybody else want to give it a shot? Pamela, Sheba?
I will. This is Pamela. Good evening, everyone. I will give it a shot. I think for me, good branding is it catches your attention, but I think great branding is that it catches your heart.
That is really great answer. Really great answer. Awesome. Sheba, would you like to give this a shot as well?
You're very faint, Sheba.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. Sorry.
We're not able to hear you, Sheba, if you're still speaking.
Can you hear me at all? No?
Yeah, much better, but still a little bit fuzzy.
Sorry, I have no idea what's going on with my speaker. That's a hard one to follow up after Pam. I don't know. Sorry.
I think we lost her.
Yeah,
Okay.
great branding really captures the attention, like you're speaking to that person directly.
Mm-hmm. And Aurora, you want to give this one a shot too? Want to close
Yeah.
this off?
Yes. So good branding is going to be a product, a service that is offered in the marketplace that has recognition. People recognize it. As Pam said, there's attention. It has name recognition. However, great branding of a product or a service, as Pam said, captures the heart, but it also is a product or service that you believe in. It is a brand. Great branding is something that you trust. And that trust translates into a lifelong customer because they see that it's different. So an example would be toothpaste. For people who like, just as an example, holistic toothpaste, there is going to be a good brand that uses baking soda, but a great brand tells you about the benefits that not only it has to you and your health, but to the environment. So that is like a off the top of my head example.
Well, that's a really great example because my answer would be, so to me, and according to my research and whatnot, good branding knows how to evoke an emotional response. It can get someone's attention. It strikes them. It is able to catch their attention because they can somehow relate to it. Great branding establishes an emotional connection, and an emotional connection is established, like Aurora said, it's by a bond. It's a bond that you sort of, they purchased the product or service that's exceeded their expectations, and they become a loyalist to it. And the same way, like something that's good for the environment, it's attached to a belief, and that belief is what resonates with the buyer. So going on to the next slide, answer, resonance and relevance. And then to go in further detail, the two R's of effective branding. So resonant and relevance are two sides of the same coin we call emotion. And emotion is what drives branding. It's how we manage our the emotions of the prospect that determine how we bond with them. So what we will discuss in this presentation is how to build a brand that utilizes strategies for establishing both. Because where a lot of brands fall off is that they can resonate with the buyer or they can relate to the buyer, but they won't do both. And what you need to do is do both. Not only should you provoke an emotional response, but you should also establish a connection that is able to bring them in, purchase your product, or go through your coaching process. They need to experience it, not just purchase it, but experience it and then feel like it changed their lives. So we're going to discuss strategies for utilizing both of these elements so that you can effectively so that you can leave your prospects feeling good about your products and ultimately grow trust and love and make them loyalists to your brand. So Aurora, good job on your explanation because it was super close and it was right in line. So remember those two, resonance and relevance, the two R's of effective branding. So next I'm going to explain is the importance of emotion. So this is what I just talked about. Good marketers know how to provoke an emotional response. Great marketers know how to establish an emotional connection. So as I explained before, using resonance and relevance together create a stronger brand. So making sure that you're able to do both. Just keep that in mind. So I'm going to also teach you guys about the fundamental rules of selling. And this is really going to tie into emotion a lot. And is anybody familiar with the fundamental rules of selling? So if nobody knows, you guys need to know them, because ultimately we are salespeople, even though we feel like we're marketing ourselves or we're branding ourselves, but ultimately we are salespeople. We're selling our image each and every day. Our reputations are our reputations, our websites, our collateral, our business cards. We are selling, our services to people each and every day. We're selling ourselves to, and we're all on a mission to accomplish something. And in order to do that, you got to follow these 3 rules. And these 3 rules apply directly to the 2 R's, and they apply directly to what you need to be doing in terms of provoking emotional response, as well as establishing an emotional connection. So number 1, people like to buy things, but hate being sold to. So people love to spend money, but they don't like it when people want to force them to spend money. They like it to make choices on their own terms. So we have to respect that. That's why we teach inbound marketing as a new and innovative way to market, versus outbound techniques, which are more traditional, which is like, cold calling, door-to-door sales, going directly to the customer versus letting the customer come to you. And good branding is what we use in marketing to draw in or attract customers. So that way they don't feel like they're being sold to. They feel like they're being connected to a solution to a problem they have, or something that can help them reach a goal. Number 2, people buy things for emotional reasons and rarely logical ones. How many times have you purchased something out of impulse? Is anybody not guilty of purchasing something out of impulse? I know everyone has at some
All
point.
the time.
So,
Too much.
Yeah, too much. So like rarely we're not logical with our purchases. And if it's anything other than bills, it's always because it's something we like, or it's something that it's something that we like, or it's something that interests us, or something that we feel like we can relate to, or there's a fad or a trend that we're buying into. And ultimately those brands don't last, but they do if they follow the 3 fundamental rules of selling, and they keep in mind the 2 relevant 2 R's of effective branding. Number 3, people want to feel good about what they buy. So when they buy something from you, you better be sure they're going to be satisfied with their purchase. Otherwise, that's bad word of mouth. And that's going to go directly into my next slide. What's the easiest way to shorten your sales cycle? So with knowing these 3 rules, how can you shorten your sales cycle? How can you make someone feel good about what
Mark, I
emotional
think
connection? Wow, making them feel like they're making the most logical and sound decision possible. So that's the goal.
Mark, can you repeat that?
So the goal here, so what's the easiest way to shorten your sales cycle? So taking into account the 3 fundamental rules of selling, how can you shorten your sales cycle while making someone feel good about their purchase, while making their decision seem logical, like the most logical solution to their problem or the way to get to their goal? And how can you do so in a way that makes them feel like they're not being sold to? So keep those 3 rules in mind and see if you can answer this question. Anybody got any answers before I move on? And the answer is pretty easy.
Creating a bond with your product or service?
It's pretty easy. It's what this whole thing is about. And it's I'm just going to go on. This is just so much fun. It's effective branding. Effective branding is how you shorten your sales cycle, because effective branding allows customers to know what to expect. What makes Apple the best-selling computer or and phone in the world. It might not be run the fastest, might not have the best performance. The phones, you know, are limited in their capabilities when it comes to terms of app development. But what makes Apple, like, they hit the trillion mark, the first $1 trillion company in the world? What makes that brand so powerful? Like, does anybody know?
I don't have to pay for any security on my Mac versus a Microsoft software operating system. And that was the reason I switched, the main reason.
So the reason why you know that is because they effectively branded it to communicate that message. So the thing about an iPhone is that every single time someone buys an iPhone, they know what to expect when they buy it. They know what they're expecting. Even if it's the next iPhone, they know it's going to be somewhat the same, but they know that it's going to be improved upon or different, or it's going to have new features that are going to excite them. And they're already loyalists to the brand because they know what to expect. If it's an effective brand, it's going to shorten the sales cycle. It's going to be a no-brainer. It's not there. You're not going to have to make them feel like they're being sold to. They're going to feel good about what they're buying because they've already felt good about what they're buying, or the messaging or the communication or the message that you're projecting is going to resonate with them and bond with them so much that they're going to ultimately feel like this is the most logical decision that they could make. So it ties into all three of those rules, and it touches on those two R's, which are relevance and resonance. How can you relate to them, and how can you resonate with them? So that way you can establish a bond that is lasting. And this is a little bit of psychology, and I'm touching on this only a little bit, but it's all about registering into long-term memory. And registering into long-term memory is hard. You have to see images either multiple times, or you have to see certain aspects, repeatedly, or it takes a lot of projection. And that's why consistent branding and effective branding is so important, because it provides an atmosphere of expectations, and expectations need to be met in order to have happy customers. So the importance of branding: the brand's ability to sell is deeply affected by how you make your prospects feel about your product or service. How you brand your product has a profound effect on how prospects perceive and feel about your brand. So ultimately, it's the expectation. You're there to make them feel like they know what to expect and that they can trust your product, that it's going to make their lives easier, and it's going to be the most logical decision that they could make for them and their lives. So what drives a prospect's perception of a brand? And I think this is another easy question. Well, at least for me, but does anybody want to take a stab at this one?
Maybe your messaging.
Yeah, what story is being told.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the messaging is Carissa saying what story is being told.
So close. Oh my gosh, I love this. I love this. Okay, so I was gonna give you guys a hint. My hint was like, think back to the story I told at the very beginning when I was talking about how this gunshot changed my life, right? It instilled what? It instilled a belief system, a value and belief system. And that is attached to what? A story, a brand story. Carissa was, I just loved it because it was like, oh yeah, like we're running on fire, the lightning's going, and I'm getting you guys to think, which is good to me because that makes me feel like I'm doing my job. So their values and belief system. And this is actually something that is really practiced with a lot in PR, public relations, and a lot less in traditional marketing. But I try to integrate it because my background ultimately is in PR, but I apply this within my own digital, because the belief and value system is just too important to leave out. So belief dynamics is what it's called. Belief dynamics is how to basically advertise by creating or instilling beliefs in your prospects. And ties back into resonance, because ultimately a good brand will resonate with the buyer because their values or their beliefs are aligned with the prospect. And why is that? Can anybody tell me?
Well, I can give you an example. Um, with ICF San Antonio, we have a campaign where we're giving back to the community, where coaches provide pro bono coaching to individuals that were affected by COVID. And I had an individual, another coach actually, reach out to me because on my profile, I said I used a keyword, and the keyword was related to the belief that I coached related to purpose. Like I was coaching on helping people find their purpose, and that resonated with the coach. She believed she had a problem of redefining her purpose, and so she asked me to help her find her purpose. That's why she reached out to me. So that's my story on kind of belief dynamics.
So yes, so your value, which is helping people find their purpose, your mission, which we'll get into that. You're getting a little ahead, but it attracted her, it resonated with her, and it affected her belief system, and it caused her to critically think about her coaching, about how do I find my purpose in coaching? And you're the coach that you need to talk to in order to figure that out. That's the perfect example of how a belief system is used in advertising, and how you can use a belief system to advertise your brand. So let's go ahead to the next thing I'm going to say. Beliefs cause behavior, and that's exactly what Aurora was just saying. So, she in her example, the coach went to her because she felt that Aurora was the authority in finding the purpose. Aurora has already created a brand that communicates and projects this belief and this value that purpose is important. Finding your purpose is what you should be doing in every person's mission in life. It's the way she was me, as she coached me. She helped me find my purpose in a lot of things that I've done, and she taught me how to use my story, how to use my voice, and how to ultimately use my gifts and talents to really bring out the best in other people. So yeah, belief causes behavior, and this is how you retain your customers, and this is how you leave them delighted. Because when you lead with your values, you retain those that matter, because you are what you attract. So the people that will come to you, if you communicate a value to a customer or prospect, and they share a value with you, they're more likely to come to you. But if your value systems align with your business model, it's more likely that they're going to leave in a satisfied and happy state. It's going to satisfy the 3 fundamental rules of selling, because they're not going to feel like they're being sold to. They're going to feel like it's logical because it's in line with their values and beliefs. And then it's finally going to be the most the most profound experience that they ever had. They're going to go and tell all their friends about it, because that's how you create good word of mouth. If you can, effectively follow all 3 rules of the fundamental rules of selling. So remember, belief causes behavior. Lead with your values and use that to advertise your business or your brand. And you do that by finding your story. So dig deep within yourselves, find that story you need to tell, and understand how that story shaped you, who you are, and shaped your belief and value system the same way my story shaped mine, and lead with it, because that will be the key to defining your personal brand. So Matt Zilli he's a well-known marketer. He said, you'll be most successful if you demonstrate to customers that you share their values. So sharing values with your customer is going to ultimately bring more clients to you, because you are what you attract, and that at the end of the day is what's going to keep them around. So branding is always going to be qualitative. It's always going to be based off the perception of the brand. So understanding how to manage your reputation and how to stay consistent and make sure that your value system does not conflict with your personality or your values is going to be very important. And I think with Carissa, we went over this with her brand positioning style guide, going over her personality traits as well as her values. We had to make sure that they were in line with each other because they could not contradict each other, because the messaging was very important in order to attract those leaders that wanted to become more successful, who wanted to develop their leadership skills as well as train others within their respective roles. So keep that in mind. So don't contradict yourself, lead with your values, and ultimately make it a part of your personality. And you do that by defining these factors. The IT dynamics, product and brand insights. So the IT dynamics are the things that are about your product that are going to be attractive and ultimately solve the solution, or be the solution, solve the problem, help them achieve their goal. So the things that really define the IT dynamic are your vision statement, your mission statement, your brand values, and finally your brand promise. I'm going to show you how to create your brand promise here in a bit, and it's going to be a little surprising because it's very formulaic and very scientific. So in short, though, I'm going to explain what each of these are to you, and yeah, make sure you're taking notes because this is be quite a doozy. So the vision statement is communicated at a macro level. So think of this as the big picture, the big idea. Vision statement would possibly be like, all right, let's hear what's your vision statement? What's your vision as a coach, as your ultimate end all be dream? No limitations.
Sorry, unmute there. My vision statement is to help people and organizations transform from the inside out.
Right on. Carissa?
Yeah, my vision is equipping courageous leaders to know and live out their personal brand and their sphere of influence.
Amazing. Martha? No vision yet? Okay. Pamela, do you have a vision? Still,
yeah, it's being developed, but my vision is to help ambitious professionals navigate change in their lives, either personally or professionally.
Perfect. So those are all really great vision statements. And I say that because they communicate at a macro level and they're very general and they do not get into the specifics of what you do, because that is ultimately going to defeat your mission statement. A mission statement is communicated at the micro level. The mission statement is the how, is how you're going to achieve that vision, and it's the milestones. So it's like saying, I'm going to achieve this vision by doing X, Y, Z. Or are you going to help coaches transform or help others or individuals change from the inside out?
My mission statement is equipping the leaders, teams, and individuals so that they unleash their potential with a sound strategy, a go-to strategy that is aligned with their purpose.
Great. So you have the tactics in mind and you're equipping them with the skills in order to achieve so. Carissa, how are you going to help courageous leaders? How are you going to help courageous leaders become the leaders that they're always destined to be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really a combination of inspiring and equipping them with the tools, the resources, and the strategies to be difference makers in their sphere of influence.
Hey, good. Pamela, do you have any sort of tactics in terms of reaching that vision that you so clearly stated earlier?
Yeah, and again, being developed. So just taking it, I'm not quite sure yet.
So so think critically about that. Think at the micro level. So think about specifics in terms of equipping, strategies, tactics. How are you going to accomplish that vision in terms of making that impact in the world that you're trying to make?
Okay.
And then ultimately your brand values, as we explained before, are ultimately your beliefs, things that shaped you as a person, shaped who you are, shaped your personal brand, and ultimately shape your mission, vision, and life's purpose. And then we'll get into the brand promise a little bit later. And you'll see exactly how all of these are going to coexist and work together in order to effectively create a solid brand. So the me dynamics, these are going to be
Mark, we lost you.
Looks like Mark is frozen there for a moment.
Well, I remember, oh, what was her name? She wrote Jesus is CEO, and she said that your mission statement you should be able to recite it at gunpoint if someone is pointing a gun to your head.
apologies. I got disconnected.
Oh, there we go. Welcome back, Mark.
Sorry about that. I got disconnected and I would just, so what was the last thing you had me at?
Me dynamics, like.
So, yeah, so me dynamics. I guess I'll just start this over. Persona, the person you're trying to help. This is the person that you're trying to reach, the person that you're trying to transform, the person that you're hoping to, make loyalists to your brand. So for Carissa, it is leaders. Aurora, who are your personas? Because you have a lot. I feel like you help a lot of people.
I do, and over time, it's really been emerging leaders.
Okay, so emerging leaders. You're in the millennial space a lot. I know I hear you saying that a lot. Pamela, who is the prospect that you're trying to help the most?
Yeah, that person who is in maybe either in transition in my target market, really either you're starting out with your career, you wanted to kind of take your leadership development skills to the next level, or you're at a place where you have just been you're at retirement, let go, or you have a major change that's happening.
Right. So people are going through a major shift in life, and they need to know how to navigate and realign and find balance within their life.
Correct.
That's a really good. Yeah. Martha, do you have a target persona that you're going after?
No, I am in a transition right now myself. No, I am redefining everything because I was in a different market altogether. So.
Okay.
I'm just in a listening mode right now. And
okay.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Anyways, the persona insights that you want to ultimately understand when aligning your brand and your values and aligning your brand with your business is understanding your persona's challenges, their goals, their plans for achieving their goals, and the consequences and implications of taking action. So to explain the consequences and the implications of taking action, do you guys quite understand what that means? Does anybody want to explain?
Say more about that, Mark.
So the consequences and implications of taking action. This goes back to the third fundamental rule of selling, which is that they want to feel good about what they purchased or what they received, about the service that they purchased or the product that they got. They want to feel good about it, right? So the consequences, implications of taking action, it all falls into that third rule. So the consequences being that, oh, what's the risk that I'm taking in buying this product? Implications is, what can I benefit from when buying this product? So understanding the objections, possible objections, and how to overcome them And then the implications is all the strengths and the values you can communicate to sort of combat those negative doubts or thoughts that they might have about your brand or product. Make sense?
Yeah, Mark, what I would say about this is that just professional coaching as an industry, that is an area where we are continuing to see continuing to have awareness so that people understand what professional coaching is, and also eliminating the risks that they would have, like the doubts that they would have in engaging a coach. Because some people believe if I hire a coach, oh, it's just, what am I really going to get out of it? And I think part of it is because there's an awareness around what the impact that a professional coach can really have on an individual, a team, or an organization.
Right. So there is this sort of risk and these doubts that people are going to have about any product, including coaching. And, some people might think that it's necessary. Some people might think it's unnecessary. It changed my life for the better. So ultimately, I see the value in it. And that's why I'm here speaking to you guys, because I know how important coaching is. And this kind of reminds me of something Susanna, if any of you are familiar with her, that she said about coaching. And a lot of people have this sort of negative perception about coaches because a lot of people think, well, anybody can just become a coach, but no, not just anybody can become a coach, right? There are things that they need to learn to become a good coach, and a good coach will be able to understand their personal brand and be able to communicate their values and their belief system and understand their purpose well enough in order to attract the right people. So the thing about this is that you're not really supposed to worry about those that might doubt about your brand, right? You want to focus on those who are going to see the implications, not those that are going to see the consequences, but the implications of your taking action. You want to entice and provoke an emotional response of those who are willing to take the risk because they know the benefit that will come with coaching. Ultimately the ones that see the value in it. And you should not worry about those that see consequences of coaching, because those ultimately, there might be a negative perception, but that's something that we call creating a mindset shift. And creating a mindset shift, it takes, and I've been doing a lot of research about this myself, and it comes a lot from creating, the perennial mindset, like creating a mindset that is going to shift someone's thinking into thinking in the long term rather than short term. So like most of the time implications are thought about in the short term, like, oh, this is too expensive, or is it really worth it right now? Like they don't see the benefits in the long term. So they use the implications in the short term to justify not purchasing or not taking action. So those are the way they're leveraged to each other. So I love the allusion that Aurora made, because that ultimately really does connect with exactly what I'm talking about here, with the consequences and implications of taking action.
Well, and what you said, Mark, about the benefits is really so important, because no one really buys coaching. I mean, coaching is the process that they experience. No one is signing up for that. What they're buying is the benefit or the results of what they want. So the more clear we are on what our particular result or outcome is, that's what people are buying.
Right. So the implications, communicating the implications and showing them the results, giving them a taste of the dream before they have it. And that is all going to be done within the long term. So they got to see the long-term benefits of taking action versus the risks that come in the short term. So let's go ahead and move on. And let's talk about the them dynamics. And these are the meta perceptions of your business. Now, does anybody know what a meta perception is? And I'm pretty sure no one does, because I didn't know until I went to grad school and learned what a meta perception was. But a meta perception is your perception of someone else's perception about you. So that is what a meta perception is. What is it? So this comes with brand personality traits. What are we and what are we not? This is what you need to project in order to control control these meta perceptions. And ultimately, effective branding is all about control. It's about controlling someone's idea of your product or service. It's about controlling someone's idea about your coaching. It's about controlling the ideas about what they believe the implications or the consequences are of coaching. You have to find ways to communicate the right message to them so that it can resonate with them and it can relate to them and it can bond with them, and they can ultimately start telling everyone who shares the same belief system as them, because birds of a feather flock together, right? So if just one person shares a belief system, they're going to tell all their friends who have the same belief system or within the same circle about this thing or this coach who changed their life, and then their friends are going to come to you and ask for the same thing. So communicating the brand personality and understanding your brand personality is going to be very important for knowing what to project and what messaging you want to be using with your personal brand. So this goes into brand positioning. So this is the formula here, and it's very formulaic, and it's kind of weird putting it this way because you wouldn't think something qualitative like branding could have something so formulaic or so logical in a scientific sense. So think of your brand purpose or your brand promise, the why. It starts with people, and it starts with the people you're helping, your people, which is you, ultimately your clients within a certain marketplace, your partners are leveraging your organization or any of your anything that you're connected to, understanding the challenges your client is trying to solve and what they need to grow from, and then ultimately how your people, your culture, and your passion and your values ultimately help them define their career path and solve their complex challenges. So I know that was a lot to sort of understand at this level right here, but I'm gonna fill it in. So we believing that by being connected, we push the boundaries of what's possible for the growth of our clients' businesses and our people. And of course, as an example. So understanding this formula here is going to be very important because it's going to be essential in terms of how you put everything that I've just explained to you: brand values, brand mission, brand vision, the it dynamics, the them dynamics, and the them dynamics, and the persona dynamics. All of them together are going to ultimately create this for you. And this is going to be your true purpose in achieving your goals. So these elements are of your brand. So your brand pillars and values, now that we're here, are the elements of your brand that support your brand's promise and communicate to your prospects why they should care and be loyal to your brand. They should ultimately reflect the value. They should ultimately reflect the values of your ideal buyer. Because why is that? I said this earlier. You are what you attract. So you got to create the connection. You got to create the connection if you want to bond with your prospects. If you don't establish brand values or communicate the right personality or communicate the right...
It's 7 o'clock.
Sorry about that. If you don't communicate the right personality, the right values, the right mission, the right vision, the right purpose, the right promise, you're not going to ultimately attract your ideal buyer, the person that you're really trying to help. And if you try to speak to everyone, you connect with no one. So remember that it's about the specific person you're trying to help. Don't forget about the people, the doubters, forget about the people that are talking about the consequences. Don't focus on those people. Focus on the people that are actually willing to listen to you, the people that actually connect to you and actually hold the same values that your brand does. So LWPs, for example, honesty, duty, diligence, compassion, hope. These are values that my company hold true to. And these are the pillars that support my brand. So everything that we do follows in line with all of these virtues, because ultimately at the heart of LWP is the virtue of bringing brands to light. It's about bringing the best out of people and what they believe, and instilling faith in their dreams. So we really fight really hard to help people follow their dreams. We don't want people's business ideas to go and die. We want to help people materialize their brands into realities. We want them to materialize their stories into reality. We want to help them tell their stories and bring them out of the darkness and into the light. And we do that by communicating and leading with these values, because that is our duty. That is our duty. That is our diligence. That is our compassion. That is our hope. And we do that with honesty, because that's what we're ultimately hoping to achieve in our grand vision of things. So I'm going to blow your mind. Now we're going to go back to the brand purpose. And remember that we had that very vague example with what your people, our clients, marketplace, our partners, and everything kind of fit together in sort of like this manner. You guys remember that? So I'm going to go ahead and show you this. Think of it this way. So your persona profile, audience profile, your persona profile, plus your brand vision, plus your core beliefs, plus your brand mission equals your brand promise. So if you understand this formula and you understand what each of these different pieces of this formula mean, you will be able to construct your brand promise and create the message that you need to attract your ideal buyer, or the ideal student, or the ideal coach, or the ideal person that you need to coach to come to you. And that happens like this. I'm going to show you how we did it and how we constructed ours. LWP's vision statement is to make digital marketing more accessible to emerging brands and small businesses, while elevating the industry standards of digital marketing and restoring faith in the industry as a whole. Our mission: to provide promotional, production, and publishing services of premier quality that solidifies and positions brands with authority and influence within their market through impeccable storytelling, right? That is the vision, is ultimately where we want to get to. Mission is the how. Add in the values, the audience profile, and everything else that we just discussed, and following that same exact formula we just went through. LWP believes that by providing emerging brands and small businesses with accessible and affordable quality production, publishing, and promotional services, we will elevate the industry standards of digital marketing, foster hope, and restore faith in the industry as impeccable storytellers and rising thought leaders. Do you guys see how that works? So
Very cohesive, Mark.
Very cohesive, right? It falls in line, and this is your brand promise. So a lot of branders think it's all about the mission statement. It's all about, the vision, and it's, they talk about everything in fragments, but really branding is a whole. It's very formulaic, and there are pieces to a larger puzzle, and focusing on one thing is not going to get you anywhere. It's going to kind of make things more complicated and make things harder, and you won't be able to fill in the holes that are necessary to support a lasting or a perennial brand. So if you want to build a brand like Apple or McDonald's or something that lasts for a long time, for generations, you know, or like, you know, you don't want to just phase in and phase out. You want to be able to hold steady and true to your own values, right? Throughout your whole time without having to compromise them. You're going to need to understand every aspect that goes into your brand and know how to cohesively put them together to make a promise that you can deliver on. And if you can deliver on this brand purpose or this brand promise, ultimately you're going to leave people feeling good about your brand and being loyalists to your brand, and they're going to know what to expect from your brand. They're going to know how to trust your brand, and they're going to keep coming back, and they're going to be referring their friends to you for as long as they live. This is how you create lifetime buyers and you shorten the selling cycle and you extend the lifetime value. That's a win-win, right? So this is what you need to do in order to achieve that. Brand personality, as I discussed before about personality traits, it's the brand personality sets the look, the tone, the feel of communications, and the assets of content. The feel of all your communication assets and content. So making sure that your brand personality doesn't clash with your values is important in making sure that it falls in line with the brand purpose, the brand mission. You want to be able to deliver on that promise, and you're going to do that with consistent branding. So never contradict your brand. And so what does brand personality ultimately provide? Answers? And I did just kind of give you that answer. It's brand consistency. Brand consistency is important because you want, you know, it's you got to define who you are. Your personality is, you know, should be what the public, or more specifically the prospects, perceive you as. These traits guide your copy, your creative. They also contribute to your public image as a whole. If done right, your brand will reflect the same values of the people you wish to serve. For example, LWP wishes to serve those who desire to be leaders in their respective industries and rise above expectations of society. To us, mission comes first. So these are the examples of our personality traits and what we are not. And if you'll see on the style guide, you'll be able to follow through. There's a list on the left side that says what it is and what it is not. You will list these out. They tend to be adjectives. These are things that describe your brand. And what we do to help you really think critically about your brand, and what we encourage you to do within the document that I gave you, is to write a short description that falls in line with your brand. Description, like with idealistic, delivering work that goes beyond expectations of the industry and always aiming to achieve the highest standards possible. Another thing that we started just recently and like to do is to create a quote that illustrates that same idea. So good digital marketing is about doing the right thing, not what's easy. Selflessness is the same way. It's like we create work that fits the needs of our clients without compromising our creative abilities. We're experts in our industry, and we guide our clients through all aspects of our services, duty above all else. So does anybody have any examples they'd like to share of how they could create a brand personality trait, how define what is it, an antonym, and then describe their personality trait in a short, brief statement, and then a quote? And anybody try this exercise?
I mean, the word that comes up for me that I use in my branding is clarity. So the personality trait would be clear. The antonym, it would be perhaps confusion or
confused or unclear or uncertain.
Uncertain, yeah. And a description around clarity is bringing breakthrough understanding to forward action is what I have.
And the way you do that is from? The inside out. There's your
Inside out.
there you go.
Which is my tagline.
Exactly. And see, my tagline is duty above all else and bring brands to light. And as you can see, we use that as a tool to, you know, formulate the messaging, the copy, and direct the creative that we associate with our brand. So as you fill out your style guides, think cohesively and think very thoroughly and think very critically, and make sure you don't contradict yourself. Make sure your values are true to your brand and your purpose and everything that we define. Follow that formula that I gave you. And when you start to define these things about your brand personality, the content and the creative is going to create itself. Your brand's going to build itself ultimately, because you've already established the foundation to build it on. Once you've established the foundation to build it on, everything else just comes to you. It builds itself. And then it's a stronger brand, and it communicates very clearly the expectations of what you could receive, the implications of you know, making the decision to work with you, to purchase your goods or services. It's, you know, this is how you want to communicate and control the perception of the buyer, which is, you know, the meta perception about controlling, just as I was speaking earlier. You know, this is all about control and attracting the right buyers and not the wrong ones. You want to make sure that they're loyalists, and they're going to become loyalists and ultimately have great things to say about your brand. So yeah, and the things that you're not are the things that, you know, you don't want your ideal buyer to be. So your ideal buyer should not be impractical, or like for Aurora, they should not be uncertain. Maybe they are uncertain, but maybe they want more clarity in their life. So they're attracted to the clarity, or the value of clarity, and they're attracted to being clear because they're uncertain. But ultimately, you want to use your communication to sort of combat what it is not, so that way you can attract those that hold the brand personality, because those that are seeking clarity ultimately are really clear about their intentions, right? Those that aren't clear about their intentions might not be so certain of seeking out coaching from Aurora, because they think they know it. They think they know everything, but they don't really. So it's kind of, I know it's a very weird paradox, but it kind of makes sense, right? So let's go on to the next slide. Taglines, exactly what I said, like Aurora just said hers from the inside out. These are all going to be derived from those quotes that you're going to bring out of your brand personality. And then you can utilize these taglines from your brand personality traits. So if you write out those descriptions, and then you continue, like write out a full description, then shorten it down to a single phrase, you'll have taglines that you'll be able to use anywhere, along collateral, posting it on stickers, you name it. That brand builds itself once you think through everything that's on the style guide, and think through what's your brand personality, what's your target audience, what's your persona profiles, what are the belief dynamics, the whole 9 yards, what's your brand promise. The content will feed in, and ultimately you'll have a plethora of assets to use to communicate your personal brand to those that you want to help. So that is it for this presentation. This is everything that I've got on brand positioning so far. I've given you I guess a lot of my trade secrets in terms of how to position your brand in terms of brand personality, brand values, how to use them within the formula, how to practice it within the style guide, and how to really ultimately apply it in terms of aligning your brand with your business. But I want to leave it to you guys. Does anyone here have any questions regarding any of the information that I just talked about?
Well, this is Pam, if I can share. This was a lot of fantastic information, and it's a lot to place into a 1-hour presentation. Thank you very much for sharing those brand secrets, and you've done a tremendous amount of growing and bringing this to the place that you are, Mark. So this is fantastic. I know for me, because it was a lot of information, and I've had some introduction to branding and putting the putting myself in a space to launch a coaching practice and such. But I think what for me, it's like, okay, so maybe I just need to have somebody to hold my hand. Maybe the coach needs a coach to work through this. So how could someone, get connected with you to kind of to walk through and go in and do those deep dives that are necessary to bring the ideas into fruition?
My agency, we do take on clients for brand consulting. We have a branding program. What we do is that we bring in, those who are seeking to fully build a full cohesive brand positioning style guide, as well as possible go-to-market strategies and assets and deliverables and building like the creative assets. My agency does offer services to help do such things. If you'd like to contact me, my contact information is here. You can take it down. I can walk you through that entire style guide. I work with you, with me and my team together, where we'll work with you throughout the entire style guide, and you'll go through the whole experience, be coached on your brand, how to utilize the communication, how to target the right buyers, how to target the right, people that you want to coach, how to communicate with them, as well as how to create the style for your logo, your look, and if you're wanting to launch a website, or you're wanting to create any creative, or you're trying to produce a video for an advertisement or anything like that. We provide strategies for all those different types of things. So if you want to go ahead and take down my information, I'd be more than happy to sort of like help you along that path on getting that brand style guide filled out. And once you do, you'll leave with a full handbook on what your brand is, and what you're supposed to, what your brand is, and basically it will just be the guidelines and the guidelines and the rules for everything that your coaching company is supposed to live by. And so that's all done through our branding program at Light Wings Promotions. Apart from digital marketing, we do offer that now as one of our core offerings, because it is something that a lot of my customers, a lot of my clients have severely needed this. There's been a pattern of, oh, we really like your marketing services, but what about this branding? Or like, I really like this branding, or I really like the style guide, or I need more of this, and I'm maybe not ready for that. Mm-hmm. So it's just right, like getting people in the right direction with their brand is ultimately what Light Wings is about. So that way we can help bring brands to light. And, this is our mission, duty above all else. So feel free to contact me if you will need more help with branding. And me and my team will assist you in getting your whole communication, everything laid out and crystal clear for you, as well as developing some assets for you to leave with, so that way you can be ready to launch.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I also want to thank you, Mark. It's been great, very informative, and a lot to think on, a lot to dig into, and I'm glad to have your contact information. And like I said, I'm in the process of defining really what I want to do. And it's been great. Congratulations. It's very inspiring what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. And it's okay to not have a vision or not really quite understand what you're quite doing just yet. It took me quite a long time to figure that out. And Aurora was the one who coached me. She was my coach for, a long time. And in a way, she still is. So it's always good to have a coach, and it's always good to be continuing to explore yourself, and your brand's going to change over time inevitably. So remember that your brand is going to go through some changes, and it's going to evolve as you get older and you grow. But it's okay to not know right now. But the thing is just find that story within yourself and find and work through that style guide and try to figure out the best way to tell it.
Well said. Well said. Mark, I know that we're coming to a close, but for those who are listening in or perhaps don't have access to the visual on the screen, in order to contact Mark, you can email him at mark@lightwingspromotions, both with S's, wings with an S, promotions with an S.com. mark@lightwingspromotions.com, and his telephone number is 832-495-8167. And you can also find him online at lightwingspromotions.com. And so, Mark, what I absolutely took away from tonight is that you have really guided us in order to build an architect, a plan, a blueprint for our brands. And you use that architectural blueprint in order to go to market and target your, to create a resonance with your clients, as well as the relevance of the brand. So thank you again tonight for everything that you have done to really help build the voice of the coach in our community.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's a privilege getting to teach and to share what I know, and, you know, especially share my passion with you guys. And I love, you know, everything you guys do as well, ICFSA and the whole ICF organization. I think you guys, what you guys do really does transform lives. It's changed my life as well. And it's really put me in a better state of mind and put me on a better path. And I really, you know, I owe a lot to the coaches that have been in my life, Aurora being one of them, Carissa and Susanna, you know, you guys have been there too, in and out. So thank you guys as well. So yeah, I'm just really grateful for all of you. And thank you for having me.
We'll have to bring you back, Mark, for round 2 so that we can do some real, put that worksheet up first so we can all start building out and refining our brands.
Yeah, we got to get the information out of the way. You go get through the lecture before you get to the work, the homework. So I'm glad. I'm very happy how this turned out. So thank you guys.
Good. Thank you.
We're gonna, okay.